Hi, my name is Sydney Klein. Yeah, the date is on here, and I'm just going to jump right into my unit for case connections. So I'm going to start off with case 1, which is the case about a newborn girl who appeared normal at birth, but within 24 hours developed lethargy, hypothermia, apnea, and her blood work showed very elevated levels of ammonia. So the first question is, discuss the normal mechanisms of ammonia transfer in the body that should be occurring, including glutamate dehydrogenase, glutaminase, and glutamine synthetase, and discussing the role of transamination. So I am going to start with this figure on the left. This kind of shows the two different options of getting ammonia to the liver. Like transporting it to the liver for disposal through the urea cycle. So the first one I'm going to focus on is the top over here, which is also the same as the middle figure over here, just a zoomed in version. So this is the first option. This option requires ATP, as you can see, and this mechanism involves combining the ammonia and glutamate via an enzyme called glutamine synthetase, and that turns the ammonia and the glutamate into something called glutamine, and glutamine can safely be transported through the blood to the liver. So instead of ammonia, which can't be safely transported through the blood, we can use glutamine to transport the ammonia, and then once it's in the liver, it can be converted back to the ammonia for disposal through the urea cycle through an enzyme called glutaminase. So that is the first option. And then I'm going to talk about the second mechanism that happens, which is on the bottom over here or over here on the right. So this involves transamination of pyruvate and glutamate to alanine and alpha-ketoglutarate via the enzyme alanine aminotransferase. So the pyruvate and glutamate transamination takes place. The product of that is alanine, and then alpha-ketoglutarate, which stays in the muscle tissue. So alanine can be transported through the blood to the liver, and then another transamination takes place in the reverse direction, giving us the pyruvate and glutamate that we had in the muscle tissue. And then pyruvate, as we know, can be used to make glucose through gluconeogenesis. So that is what we call, which can be converted then through which can be transported then to the muscle tissue for energy. So that's what we call the glucose-alanine cycle, because as we can see, it's a cyclical process, because the glucose can then be turned into pyruvate to be transaminated again. And then one more thing I wanted to point out is that the alpha-ketoglutarate that we made to make the alanine to transport to the liver can be oxidatively deaminated. Oxidative deamination. It can be oxidatively deaminated using the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase, which combines alpha-ketoglutarate and ammonia to get that glutamate so that we can transaminate it. So this is kind of how everything works together to get that ammonia out of the tissues and to the liver to be disposed of properly. In this girl's case, likely there was a deficiency happening in the urea cycle because her ammonia level was so high. How is nitrogen transport connected to gluconeogenesis in the fasted state? So yeah, we touched on that a little bit, but nitrogen transport is connected via this glucose-alanine cycle. Sorry. Yes, pyruvate is a precursor to gluconeogenesis, which can be converted to oxaloacetate, the first intermediate of gluconeogenesis. So that's how we connect the alanine pyruvate to gluconeogenesis. And then the next question is, what urea cycle enzyme is most likely deficient and what urea cycle enzyme is least likely to be impaired? So for that, I'm going to go to this slide. I'm going to move my face out of the way. Guess I'll put it here. So this is just a little overview of like the beginning of the urea cycle. So I would say the most likely deficient enzyme is ornithine transcarbamylase, and that is responsible for converting carbamyl phosphate to citrulline. So that's right here. And then this is the step that we're talking about. Oh, right here. Okay, so OTC is the short name for ornithine transcarbamylase. I would say that this is the most likely cause because the high level of orotic acid found in the urine. And so you might be wondering, but I don't see orotic acid, in the cycle or here. But that's because carbamyl phosphate is actually a early substrate of pyrimidine synthesis, where orotic acid is an intermediate. So a buildup of carbamyl phosphate can lead to an increase of pyrimidine synthesis and then an increase of that orotic acid found in the urine. And I would say the enzyme that's least likely to be impaired is probably carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1, or CPS1, because it is responsible for the formation of carbamyl phosphate. And as we discussed previously, there seems to be, there might be an excess of carbamyl phosphate if there's an excess of orotic acid, because the excess of carbamyl phosphate would explain the excess of orotic acid through this pathway. So basically an increase of the carbamyl phosphate would be consistent with an increase of orotic acid, and then the only way we would get that carbamyl phosphate is from CPS1. So I would say that's least likely to be impaired, and then will an amino acid. So I would say the amino acid that may become deficient as a result of impaired OTC function is arginine, because we can see that the synthesis of arginine is down the line from the OTC enzyme. So if it's not functioning at full capacity and its activity is reduced, that would logically might lead to a reduction of arginine synthesis. So I would say arginine supplementation might be recommended. Okay, moving on to, I believe, case 3. So this is the case about the 47-year-old man presenting with severe pain who is diagnosed with gout. So the first question is, gout can be caused by several different mechanisms. What is the best explanation for the presentation of gout? So honestly, I'm not 100% sure which pathway best fits this individual, but I'm going to go through kind of my thinking for each of the possible mechanisms that could be occurring. So starting off with decreased urinary excretion of uric acid. I would say that's probably for sure at play. Looking at the uric acid found in this patient's urine. It's like way below normal range. So I would say there's definitely a lack of excretion going on, which is, likely contributing to the hyperuricemia. And then with that, there could also be excess production of uric acid going on due to overproduction of purines or decreased salvage of purines. To like be completely positive, I would test to see if the enzymes that contribute to the salvage pathways of purines, such as phosphoribosyl transferase and hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase. I would test their activity, and if they had a reduced activity, I would say probably there's, obviously a reduction of the purine salvage that should be going on. That could be causing the increase in uric acid. And if not, it could be just, over production of purine synthesis. And then he discloses that he has switched to regular soda, which contains fructose. So for that, I'm going to switch to this slide. I'm going to move my face here. Fructose can impact uric acid production and therefore lead to gout, because fructose can be turned into fructose kinase, which can be converted into inosine monophosphate, which can enter the purine synthesis pathway and stimulate purine synthesis. So we can see that right here. So this is fructose kinase. It gets turned into inosine, and this is the purine synthesis pathway. So if we have an increase in fructose, it's just more availability to make the purine synthesis pathway. Oh, here, I zoomed in on it here. Also, I think excess fructose can also stimulate the production of other precursors of purine synthesis, like PRPP, because I know that PRPP is synthesized through the pentose phosphate pathway, which fructose, I believe, can be turned into the precursor of that pathway. So an excess could lead to an excess of PRPP as well. So yeah, thank you for listening.